Hello, and welcome back to Purple Noon, a podcast. If I sound stuffy, it's because I'm a little sicky. Because someone in our family decided to come down when they had a cold during the Dark Ages. Are you kidding me?
The Dark Ages.
I
That's really what
can't.
this
I
is.
can't. So that is why, well, one, we were kind of busy with the family, but two, we could not get an episode out any earlier because my voice, it's funny because I felt fine, but I would literally wake up and my mom would be like, "Hey, how you feeling?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." I sounded awful. I sounded awful. It just had a grip on my voice. So apologies if I do sound like that the remainder or if I hear a little or anything like that throughout. But I am Stephanie Conti, and I am here with just username and also the title of the movie we're going to be talking about today, Pig,
An
aka
honor.
Savanna Lanausse, even though you are not a pig.
But it's an honor. I don't remember the pig's name. Do you remember the pig's name?
Do they ever have?
I think he did name her, but I don't remember.
I do not recall
Just
the
Pig.
pig's name.
In honor of Pig.
I know the pig had an actual name
Oh, really?
in real life in the credits, but I do not remember the character pig name. Yeah, if you notice just throughout the movie, he's just like, "Where's my pig?" You know?
That's true. He doesn't talk about what the pig's name
Yeah,
is.
he's just like, "I want my pig. Give me my pig." He just refers it to pig.
Poor man.
I knew it was a girl though, but I don't know what the
Yeah, it
name of
was a
it.
girl because he would call her she.
Mhm. But how are you doing, Savannah? Anything new? Have you been watching anything lately?
Mm, I did see a really interesting movie.
What movie?
Battle Royale.
I've never seen it.
Battle Royale walked so Hunger Games could run.
Really? You know, I've heard that before. I think the book came out before Hunger Games too.
So yeah, Battle Royale is a Japanese movie that came out like 20-ish years ago.
Yeah.
And it basically the same premise. They throw a bunch of ninth grade kids. Like Japan makes a law. So basically, high schoolers, from what I understood, were like abusing their teachers. So Japan went extreme and made a law saying like once a year we're going to pick a random class and they're going to fight to the death to show these kids. So yeah, it was about ninth graders being sent to this island and only one person can survive. Very good, but very, very violent. Very violent.
Interesting. So and you said ninth grader, so we have 13 and 14-year-olds just killing each other on the screen?
Obviously, they do not look 13 or 14-year-old, but basically, yes. And they're supposed to be around that time, like that age.
Gotcha. And
Very good movie. I was delighted. It was very gory, but it was good. It was a good movie.
nice, nice. And so I have heard a lot. I remember someone in high school telling me about um the book and being like, "Ah, this is better than Hunger Games and stuff." So, I definitely interesting. And now the movie, wasn't there a remake of it recently?
I don't know. I know they made a second one, but I only saw the original first one.
And what's the name of it again?
Battle Royale. You
Oh,
know
you
who's
know
in
what I'm
it?
thinking of? I was thinking of Ready Player One.
No, no.
Okay, Battle Royale. Yeah, I did hear a lot of good things about that. I
The
have shown Zach the entire trois colères. That is the worst pronunciation of French I've ever done.
Twackle.
I have ever done in my life. Trois colères. That doesn't even no. Three colors essentially was what I was trying to say. I
What
showed
were
him
his
the entire
thoughts?
three colors. He liked it. His order in terms of his favorite was the opposite of mine. His is red, blue, white.
Wrong. Completely
Mine's
wrong.
white, red, blue.
Blue's my least it's gorgeous, but that's my rating as well.
Yeah, he really loved he really loved blue, and I'm like, "Okay, get it, I guess." I mean, they're
Wrong.
all great. They're all great. Let's not there's no slander here, and plus we're gonna be reviewing it soon. But I was genuinely surprised. But he did thoroughly like the entire trilogy.
White is a wild you will never see anything like white.
Do you know how many times people have tried to come for me and they're like, "White's the worst one," because I talked about it on TikTok, and I'm like,
It's
"No,
the best
it's
one.
the
Best story,
best."
best everything. How do you
All 3
not?
are great. All 3 are
Oh no,
great.
they're
But if we're talking
masterpieces on
what's
their own. But
Yeah. Like, cause here's the thing, like, in terms it also has the best rewatchability and the best type of, like, movie like, that would be, like, a movie, like, if someone's like, "I wanna get into foreign films," obviously Parasite is on there, but White is in, like, the top 3.
agreed.
It's
Agreed.
awesome. It is so, so good, and, like, this is our little mini review of it, I guess, but White is just it's great. It's wild. It's a wild ride from beginning to end, and it's just so good.
There is no other story like it.
For sure, for sure. You have some things similar to Blue, not a lot of things similar to Red, and they're both great. They're both great. They're still top tier movies, but White's a breed of its own.
Poland. Poland. That's
Don't make me cough. You just Poland.
Come on.
I sent you a screenshot. I've been getting calls from like the Netherlands, Poland, and things like that on my phone. And every time I scream, because I think one day I'm going to look at my phone and it's going to say Denmark.
Yeah.
One day it will say
It's gonna catch
Denmark
up
or
to us.
Copenhagen, and I'm just going to call you up screaming.
He's gonna
But it'll
find
probably
us
be
one
all the
day.
same shit. Like, it'll probably just be like, "Hi, this is Amazon calling." And I'm like, "What is this? What is this automated voice?"
No, he'll
But
find us eventually.
one day it'll be either Zentropa or Lars. And that day is going to go down in history. Let me tell you what.
You know what? I hope he calls you that. I don't want to. I'm scared. You know that. You have to handle that for
Yo, if I
us.
answer the phone and I hear med it good, med it ood, I'm going to lose my shit.
You just gotta throw away the phone.
For sure, for sure. But I say, before my voice gives out at some point, let's talk about Pig. So, Savannah, would you like to introduce the film?
Yeah. All right. So, Pig is a drama thriller starring Nicolas Cage and Alex Wolff. It's directed by Michael Sarnowski and is about a truffle hunter who lives alone in the Oregon wilderness, must return to his past in Portland in search of his beloved pig after she is kidnapped. How could you
This
not like
this
be
was a
interested?
wild ride. Like, we saw it. Oops, scusi, I burped. We saw it in theaters, and it was not what we were expecting, at least for me. What it sounds like John Wick with a pig. That's what it sounds like. You think, oh my God, it's going to be Mandy meets John Wick plus Babe or Charlotte's Web of some sort,
The
you
trailer
know?
is really intense, I will say. They did give you that vibe.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, it sets it up where you're like, oh, like someone's gonna like die because someone stole his pig. And plus, it's Nick Cage. I feel like that's the type of thing that's easily expected from him.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was a pleasant surprise. It was surprisingly a lovely film. It looked dark,
It was
but it
very dark.
wasn't. It wasn't that dark. The ending, we'll get to that eventually. But overall, before we get into the spoiler bits, what do you recommend Pig? What's your thoughts on Pig?
I recommend everybody seeing it once. I don't know though if this is going to be everybody's cup of tea. I don't even know if it's my cup of tea per se. But it was a good movie. It's an interesting story. It's just the movie is an emotional toll that you're going to have to take. It's going to put you in your feelings.
For sure. It's gonna make you hungry, so if you see it in theaters,
Which
go
was
to a dine-in
surprising
theater.
also. I wasn't expecting it to be like a food crossover situation.
Yeah, it ended up being like Chef. Like, I was like, at one point when Nick Cage was cooking, I'm like, is this a John Favreau movie? What is this?
Yeah, it took a lot of unexpected turns. The movie also talks about like I think what the movie is talking about in general though is grief,
Yeah.
which does like the movie does have this heavy feeling throughout the entirety of it. So it's not a light film per se. It's a sweet story in a way, but it's not a light movie. It gets
Yeah,
kind of dark.
yeah, no, and it's definitely it's somber. I say it's sweet because there are like
No,
moments
yeah.
in the film that are like, oh yeah, without spoiling. I do recommend it. If you're a Nick Cage fan and you just like weird A24 type, very original movies, go watch it for sure.
Yeah.
But if you're expecting Wick with a pig, this ain't an action-packed movie, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Like,
Sorry.
probably the action ends within, like, the first 15 minutes until we see Nick Cage just repeatedly kicking a Camaro. That's as far as we get in terms of action.
Yeah, he steals a bike at one point, so
He's still oh, that was such a great scene. But, because did he just yell in the dude's face or something like that?
Yeah.
But let's break down this review. So now we'll get into the spoiler parts. So story. Obviously, we've both said that it's very interesting, that it's definitely unique. What are some of your favorite elements?
I like the relationship between him and pretty much what I would call his employer, which is Alex Wolff. I like how that kind of develops because at first, like, he doesn't even talk to him. Like, there's the scene where he's just Alex Wolff is going on, and he's just ignoring him. And then throughout the movie, they kind of just form this almost I don't know if it's father son, but a very interesting bond because they're both dealing with loss in
It's
different
like a
ways.
shared trauma bond.
Yeah, yeah, they're both dealing with some grief, I guess, and they kind of bond over I want to say that because they understand each other throughout the movie, especially when Alex Wolff finds out what happens to him and then Nicolas Cage, Robin, this character Robin finds out Alex Wolff's situation, Amir. So I like one of that's probably my favorite part of the movie. I like the bond that they kind of form.
Yeah, and I really think they did a good job not only subtly kind of framing and highlighting Nick Cage's character Robin, his story and everything, but how we then switch to I really love Amir's story and the story between his
Yeah.
parents and how, his parents had this really bitter divorce, and the one like lasting good moment that they had before their marriage went into shambles and before the mother got sick and everything like that was they had this meal, and this meal ends up being had been prepared apparently by Robin when he was a chef like about 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So it really added this element. Was not expecting homeboy to be a chef, what
Me
especially
neither.
like seemed like someone to be like a renowned chef in that area, right?
Oh yeah, like the town knew him. The town was waiting for him to come back and everything.
And it's so interesting how he seemed to have like the full like it's very juxtaposition where we kind of get a glimpse where it's like, oh, like this man didn't live in the woods with his pig, covered in
Oh,
schmuck the
we
entire
forgot to
time and
say
stuff.
that. Yeah, he was living the story starts with him living in a cabin in the woods with a pig. That's it.
Yeah, and like no access to civilization. Like, and the deal he has with Amir is that he gives Amir truffles, and essentially Amir gives him like food and living supplies, and
Yeah.
nothing like crazy. And like in the beginning, I think what he gets like milk and maybe like a can of soup or
Like
something. So
flour or something? Yeah,
nothing
like
that really like signals like, oh, this guy's cooking, an amuse bouche or something like that in the woods and whatnot.
yeah.
Not until the end. I think there's like a nice little glimpse at the end of his cabin where we see all the pots and pans, and then we go, oh, he was a chef indeed,
Fancy, I know.
But it's a really interesting story, and the way it's dissected into acts was something I was not expecting. It added a little bit of like a little je ne sais quoi to it. It added a little bit of a
Little
character to it
charm.
because all of a sudden, like I didn't. No title card for Act One came up. It just paused and went Act Two, and it was like booze, bruises, and filet mignon, or something of that type, like something very weird and
Yeah.
random. And I was like, oh, this is different. I like this. So it was interesting.
It definitely had its unique qualities, for sure.
Yeah. And then also now we have to talk about Amir's dad, played I called him George Fooney because he looked like George Clooney, but I know he wasn't, so I called him George Fooney. Who and let me look at this actor's name. His name is Adam Arkin.
He's
He's probably a
familiar.
well-known actor. He's probably a well-known, and I'm just being rude.
No, I've seen him in stuff before, but I don't know where. Like, he's familiar.
He's got one of those faces. Also, when he spoke, he sounds exactly like Nick Cage. That was very confusing in the beginning for me,
They both have those demanding voices, yes.
for sure. So, I like the idea of his character where he's like, "Yeah, stole your pig. Get another one. You want 10,000, 5,000 for your pig?" Meanwhile, this dude knows, like, he knew the entire time, like, the pig RIP'd, the pig was dead.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
and it's just so rude because then Robin goes out of this way to cook the last meal he shared with his wife before she attempted suicide. And he's like, "Man, I've been fibbing. Your pig's dead. I'm
Yeah.
sorry." Like, how messed up is that?
Well, I think it's even more messed up the reason he stole the pig. It was to spite his son.
It wasn't even for the truffles. It wasn't even for the
It
truffles.
literally was because he was just like, "Yeah, my son's doing too good, and I don't want that. Like, I can't have that."
Yeah,
Like,
so rude,
what?
so messed up. I do wish a little bit that we did get to explore a little bit more of that family's relationship because that definitely was interesting, especially when Amir in one scene says, "Oh yeah, like my mom's dead. She committed suicide." But then we realize, like, no, she's technically not dead. It was
Yeah.
attempted, and she's stuck in this home. So I wish we would have seen more of, like, since we already were exposed to it, a little bit more of the father and the wife, and like, does he visit her? Does he talk to her? Does that what's going on here?
Yeah, that was they definitely kept us in the dark with that, and I think I would have liked more Alex Wolf because I do think just that one scene where he's telling his mom, like, I really wish dad would let you die,
Yeah,
essentially. Like, that was very good, and I think he has potential. Like, I saw him in Hereditary, and I thought he was good in Hereditary, except, he gets made fun of a lot
I think he's a great
for
actor.
his acting. There's that one because it's that one scene in Hereditary where he's, like, crying, and he's just like, and everybody makes fun of that, but I actually think he's
No, I
very
think he's a
good.
fantastic actor. And it was so unsuspecting too from him because I watched him and his brother on Naked Brothers Band growing up as a
I did
kid.
too, they were my crushes.
I know, everyone, everyone. I was a Nat. Sorry, Alex, I was a Nat fan. But anyways, so I remember like seeing them growing up, and I knew like the brother could act, and that he ended up doing a John Green movie. He did Paper Towns, but then Alex did Hereditary and was amazing in Hereditary.
Yeah, he's very good. I'm like I think I hope to see him as a leading man at some point
And I
because
think that whole like making fun of his crying thing. Well, he's in Old. I feel like he's gonna be at the center of the film in the movie Old.
I don't know because I think he is going to be not like he's right now side characters. Not side characters, but like not the main, but co. So I
Yeah.
have a feeling that he's going to be co because also the cast for Old is huge. So I don't
That's true,
necessarily
like,
know.
everyone's switching out of actors in, like, every 5 minutes apparently, so I can see that.
So I would like to see him in a main role. Because I do think just from that one scene he's very talented.
Yeah, and, like, that whole crying scene thing that they keep making fun of, I think it's one of those things where it's, like, sometimes, like, crying scenes are awkward, and they just cause you to laugh, but I don't think
But
that takes
also
away
it
from a movie.
it was also a very like if you watch the scene itself, it was a little comical. And I don't think that was necessarily his fault. I just think when you watch it, the immediate reaction is to laugh because it's a little awkward. But I don't think that had necessarily because the house at that point, if it's the scene I'm thinking of, it just got haunted. So you see all these
Oh.
weird figures and like I think they were referring to like when you see the old lady for the first time and then he
Oh,
starts
gotcha.
so I feel like the scene itself, the knee reaction is to laugh. So I don't know
Yeah,
if
but
that's
it's one of those
necessarily his
things where,
fault.
like, literally the scene of him in the classroom counteracts that entirely. Like, that's a hard scene to do with him
Yeah.
slamming his face on the desk. Not to get into like hereditary spoilers or anything like that, but that's a hard scene to do.
No, I think he's great. I'd like to see him in a leading role. I hope he gets that opportunity because right now he's only been like one of the co-characters.
Yeah.
Definitely see him as a leading man.
So A lot of people are praising this as Nick Cage best acting. What do you think about
Okay.
that?
Um, so I think the problem is up until recently, Nick Cage, if correct me if I'm wrong, but he was more known for like action, right?
For sure, you know? Like,
Like
I
National
know Zach
Treasure.
always my boyfriend, he always makes a joke about, like, "The bees!" or some stupid
Oh
thing he
yeah,
did.
the Wicker Man. Oh no.
Yes.
Well, and then I saw him in like Moonstruck and Raising Arizona, like roles that aren't that have like comedic undertones. We don't get a lot of like very serious Nick Cage. So I could understand why people are like, "Oh, this is his best role." I think he was great, but I don't know if I 100% agree. Just cuz I've seen him in other things. Like I really liked his performance in Mandy.
That's fair. I think for me, I haven't seen a lot of Nick Cage movies, and I only know the memes. So,
Oh,
when
this poor
people are
man.
like,
His
"Oh,
whole
like"
his whole career is memes.
I know. Like, I don't think he's a bad actor. I think he's just so much of a character actor. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, like, it's hard to explain, like, I never just took him like, it's like how I really don't, and, like, I'm not trying to, like, be rude and not to say that they're not actors, but it's, like, kinda like the same way how I don't take Tom Cruise so seriously.
I can understand that, but I think it's really just the roles that these Nicolas Cage is one of those people that were in so many fails. You ever see Face Off?
I do not like Face Off. I
It's
do
it's
not like it.
it's almost comedic. Like a lot of his career has just been like stupid, like bad roles. So I feel like unfortunately he also hasn't been given a lot of opportunities to shine. He was in a movie called Lord of War with Jared Leto that I actually did like him in. So I feel like it's more. And Tom Cruise, I feel like Tom Cruise can act too, but again, it's these specific roles like Jerry Maguire and
Like, it's
Top
hard to
Gun.
say if he's a it's one of those things where for years I never knew if Nick Cage was a good actor or not because it always just felt like, no, they just don't give him good movies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, or he's picking weird roles to do. Like Wicker Man was an atrocity, and like that's where those memes come from because he just it's a mixture of him just performing odd and the movie being odd and the script being odd, but I do think he is a good actor just from some of the roles I've seen him in. But I see your point. It is kind of like Tom Cruise, where it's just like, is he a good actor? Or is this movie just good? Like, I understand.
Yeah, like, there's nothing in at least from in my opinion, there's nothing in Nick Cage's career where it's like, "Oh, yeah, you can do goofy movies and stuff, but then you're in a movie like Philadelphia." Like, I don't see that in his repertoire or anything, you know?
Yeah, he hasn't had one major role that's like that proves he's a fantastic actor. It's all very minuscule, like, and even in the movies that I consider good, there are only certain parts where I'm just like, wow, like that was pretty good acting. There's nothing that defines his career.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just very weird, you know? He's one of those he's just Nick Cage. At the end of the day, I think it's not like people know him for like, "Oh, you're in this movie." People just know him for being Nick Cage, you know?
That's true. Weird Nick Cage. That's very true.
All right. Now let's talk about so we talked about the two actors. What did you think of the directing of this film?
I liked I liked how it was shot and I liked the color scheme for the movie because it was sort of this there was a lot of green and earthy undertones, and I feel like that connected with him living in the woods. So I like some of the choices that they took. Um, Again, I liked how everything was broken up into parts, and I thought it was good. I don't know if I'd say if it's anything crazy, but I thought it was good. I actually don't know too much about this director or anything he's done. So, but for the most part, I did enjoy it. What about you?
I thought it was good too. I think I just wish that within the different acts that we see, there was more variety. It just kind of felt like especially with the act with the plot evolving, I feel like they really could have taken a chance and then evolved the directing, especially when it came to the cooking scenes. They could
I
have
could
Remy
see that.
Ratatouille that stuff, you know? They could have gotten a little bit of, they could have gotten a little, saucy with the cooking and stuff like that. No pun intended. But I did feel like overall it was good, but it really could have been better, especially when you're dealing with such high life cuisine and cooking and things like that. I feel like we could have even like the restaurants that they went to were like blah, and they're like, "Oh my god, takes like 6 months to get here." I would have liked a little bit more
Yeah,
experimental sets and
you're
everything like that.
so right. The freaking restaurant they went to looked like a cafe. It didn't look impressive. I was like, "Really?"
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, this restaurant's so hard to get. It's so hard to book a reservation. It looks like a Perkins. Like, I
Yeah,
just felt
it
like,
looked like a brunch place. It didn't look
and maybe that's just Portland.
it could I don't
Could
know.
just be Portland. But like when they say like, "Oh, we're going to this super high fancy place, I'm trying to get a reservation for tonight and stuff." I don't like suspect like, oh, like I can see people shopping and doing window viewing and stuff like without like the big chairs. Like I just expected so much more from the sets and stuff like that. And I really feel like they could have taken advantage of that and gotten a lot more creative with it.
Yeah, maybe they were just
Oh, everything okay?
I don't know. I just yeah, it's fine. It's gone. Sorry, but I mean, maybe they were just trying to keep because in general, the whole movie was had a very simple set. Like even though they moved around a little bit, it didn't really get crazy until the only thing I will say that like restaurant worker underground fight was crazy.
Where
That
did
was
that
an
come from?
interesting.
Where did that come from?
That was an interesting set. I feel like he was trying to be edgy there. I feel like that's
Yeah.
where he was trying to change it up. I don't know if it worked because it felt out of place for me, and it felt like he wanted to put a little shock value into his
Yeah,
movie.
I think it's like just trying to show like, oh yeah, this old bear still has some moves and stuff, but it's like
He didn't. He got he got
it
punched in
could.
the face 7 times.
Yeah, the second time he already got like punched in the face like the first
Oh
time,
yeah, he just got beat up throughout the movie.
and like there was no exchange of words. It was just kind of like,
The scene was silent.
yeah, it was just kind of like it's so weird because Nick Cage walked in and was like, "You can beat the crap out of me for you to tell me where my pig is," but didn't announce that.
This scene was so dramatic. He just wrote his name on the chalkboard, and everyone's just
And
like,
it took so long too. It was such a long scene.
I don't know if that was just for him to like experiment with the movie a little bit and be like, "Hey, look, there's a secret underground club where you get to beat up your favorite waiters."
Is that a Portland thing? Hey, if you're from Portland or Oregon in general.
Is there a secret fight club for restaurant people?
Oh, that would be such a great concept though. You fight for your meal. That would be such a great concept. And these days, heck yeah.
Dude, it was a little and also, okay, the one unrealistic thing and my husband and I were talking about it was how everywhere that he went, he was still like the super important person in Portland
I
10
thought
years
you
later.
I thought you were gonna say everywhere he went, he still probably smelled because this man did not get bathed
He
once.
didn't shower
He
for
got
3
beat
days
up twice and he went on like a 4-day excursion to
with just
find
no
his pig.
blood on his face, like 3-year-old blood still on his face.
So crazy.
It
But
was
yeah,
very
like
distracting. Yeah, but we were talking about how realistic would it be if a well-renowned chef from 10 years ago in Portland went out and came back and everybody knew his name and everybody he was just as important as when he left. I don't know.
not realistic unless the guy was like Wolfgang Puck or something like that, you know?
Yeah, and so when he wrote his name on the chalkboard and everyone's just like, I'm just like, no, it would have not mattered.
It
Sorry.
Yeah, everyone's like, and I'm like, and I'm thinking, I'm like, isn't Portland like a pretty big city? Like, I feel like after 10 years, people be like, yeah, we don't know who you are.
Yeah, they made it sound like it was some rinky-dink town in the middle of nowhere.
Which it would have made sense if maybe it was like, Forks, Washington or some crap like that, middle of nowhere population of like 500. Forks, Washington is a horrible example because everyone's going there because of the Twilight craze now that's back after like 15 years.
The what?
Twilight craze.
Oh, I
That's where
forgot.
it's from. Yeah, Forks. I thought Forks, Washington for some reason. But yeah, like maybe if it was like, I don't know, like Montgomery, Alabama or something like that. Like maybe there wouldn't be many too renowned chefs in the area like that. But I don't know. Portland feels a little too big. Could you imagine if this was set in New York City? Would not make sense at all. First of all, can't have a truffle pig in the city like that. Like,
Yeah.
it's so
And
weird.
also, if you just walk around being like, "Yeah, tell him my name," nobody would care.
But
They'd
then
be
there
like,
was
"Oh, you're."
also this thing where it's like he lied about his name to you, and then they never said like what the lie was.
I don't understand that whole
There
premise
were
of the
some plot
story.
holes here and there. There was also here there is one thing that I love about this movie, and I said to you after the movie, and I really love it because I found a little symbolism within the
Okay.
movie. I think the reason why he didn't need the truffle pig was because in the end he was the truffle pig himself because he was this dirty little curmudgeon that
Stop.
said that he knew how to get the truffles. He was the truffle pig.
That's so sad.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of sad, let's talk about the ending. This man
Ah,
just went back to his shack and was like, "Oh yeah, my pig's dead. What
and
now?"
and then he listened to recordings of his dead wife. Like, that's so sad. It was a little dark.
It was unfair. I mean, like, how do you end this movie though? Like,
They
what
could
ending
have
would you prefer
offered
to
to be
see?
like, "Hey, like, I know you wanna be by yourself, but can we get you anything else? Can we help you in any way? Do you want another pet?" It doesn't have to be a pig. But at that point, I felt like the friendship was there for him to be like, "Hey, like, you're, like, my friend now, so let's help you out some way. Because I don't think he would have came back to civilization all of a sudden, but I do feel like Alex Wolf character should have been like, "Hey, now you're really alone. Can Is there anything I can do?" There was never that conversation. It
He
was
should
just
have bought him another pig
he should have
or a dog.
anything be like, I know it's not whatever the pig's name was, but I just felt like the friendship was there and it was never like the conversation was pretty much like, see you next Thursday, and he left. They had a meal and he left him in the
They
woods.
had the best meal, and then they said, "Oh, hey, sorry, your pig's dead, but we still get our truffles? No harm, no foul, right? We just killed your pig." Like
Dude,
what?
yeah, I wish there would have at least been a conversation where like, hey, like, do you want to stay with me now? Can we work something out? Help me with the business. We're best friends. Not, well, not that they're best friends,
Or
but like,
even like just a chance of luck, you know? Like I kind of wish, like in the end, where you see like the little pig's bed. I wished honestly a very different looking tiny little pig just walked through, just
right?
out of nowhere, you know, and just went for a sleep. I thought that would have been great if he would have just sat there on the bed and watched a little tiny piglet come in on the bed, sit, sleep, and then just him go to sleep.
Yeah, but instead now he's alone forever. But
And I was
essentially,
even hoping, like, maybe in the credits, you know, there would have been something, and there wasn't.
no.
Oh, we also have to talk about the scene of him in the restaurant and just obliterating the former like staff who used to work for him.
Dude, this guy I felt a little bad for the guy because he was caught off guard. He was caught
Yeah,
off
and
guard.
like this dude literally looked like he was going to combust.
Yeah.
He's like, "You're not happy. You wanted to own like what was it, a brewery or
No, it
something?
was like
Oh,
an
an
English
Irish
pub
pub."
with where he could sell like little like English meals.
Yeah, he's like, "You want to have an Irish pub, and you're making this stuff," and the dude literally is like, like
And he's like, nothing
panicking.
matters. This doesn't matter. You don't matter. And then he just starts crying.
He was very nihilistic.
And again, can you imagine your old boss from 10 years ago coming into your very successful restaurant looking like hell demanding where his pig is. You really don't know what you know a little bit of what he's talking about, but you're just like, are you gonna eat something? And then he ruins your life in a few sentences. That's
For sure.
awful. This poor man. I
Ugh.
mean, he got what he wanted. He found out where the pig kind of was.
Yo, those crackheads in the beginning and end of the movie sucked.
That's so sad. I know. How do you agree to like kill a pig? They essentially killed the pig.
Yeah, because they said that they were messing around with it too hard and it, like, died.
That's so sad.
They stressed out the pig. How the like, it's always crackheads, man. It's always crackheads in movies like this.
They were crackheads, right? That was their thing. They were like druggies.
Yeah, or something like that. I think because it was like I mean, they looked it. I mean, no offense, but
No,
they
they were.
looked
I
it.
think they were like drug addicts. I think that's what they. Yeah, he called them junkies at one point.
That's true. That's true. Man, so, overall, would you own this movie on DVD, and what's your rating?
Okay, I give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was good. I think it has a lot of good themes. I really like Nicolas Cage and Alex Wolff. I probably wouldn't rewatch it though, because I think it is just one of those movies for me where once is enough. And it's not because it's not good. It's just it's kind of a dark movie. You know, there's a lot of symbolism, and I'm sure if I watched it again, I'd catch different things. But again, it just the re-enjoyability of it isn't there for me. So I probably wouldn't own it just because I don't see myself picking it up and popping in one day. But it's still a good movie, and I recommend everybody see it because I like the performances, and the themes. What about you?
I probably wouldn't own it just because I agree with you, the rewatchability unless, like, maybe they had, like, a really cool, like, box set or something of it, I would probably have to give it a 7.5. I really enjoyed it, but there are plot holes. It's not a perfect film, but it is highly entertaining. And it did surprise me, and it was a good surprise, and I really enjoyed the film for what it is, but I do wish that there was more from it in terms of story,
Mhm.
directing, and even dialogue too. I felt like this really could have been like Nick Cage's best movie, but you can't just keep telling him to be like, "Okay, say where's my pig?" for the 18th time, you know?
Yeah, that was like 50% of the lines, more than that.
For sure. But all right, so that is our review of Pig. Um, we will be talking about the Three Colors trilogy come next time you're listening to us. And yeah,
Woo!
as always, you want to finish the rest of the sign off, Savannah? My throat is like,
As always, please subscribe, follow us. It's free. We also have a Patreon. If that's there if you want it. I recommend it. It's there. Or follow us on social media. We did a really cool Thelma and Louise shoot. You guys can check that out. A big thank you to Homeboy James and Sensei David as always. And if you want a cool nickname, look at the Patreon that I just mentioned. And we will see you next week.
beautiful sign off. See you
Thank you.
next week. Bye bye.
Bye.